Welcome to On the Bubble Podcast, episode 140. I'm your host, Basa J. Witta, and with me is my co-host, Yuki Lee Bender. Today, we're going to be talking about the Omens of the Third Age BnR announcement that came out. I know this episode will be coming out sometime in April, but we are recording a couple of weeks in advance. I think I'm going to schedule this to come out maybe right before the PT, but we are recording in March 24th. As I will currently be in Japan by the release of this episode. I guess we can just get right into the topic here. We are going to have a little bit of a shorter episode today, and we're just going to be going right in and talking about the Omens BnR announcement. So this isn't going to be in effect for a while now, but there's a couple of things that we wanted to talk about and mention regarding this BnR announcement, because it will be an interesting topic. Before that, let's do like a quick Patreon shout out.
Yeah, so thank you to all of our patrons and listeners who tune in each week. We couldn't be doing what we're doing without you. The support really helps us be able to make this podcast and continue doing it and continue making all of the additional content that many of you enjoy. So yeah, thank you, and just expressing appreciation for that. If you want to check us out, you can find us on patreon.com/onthebobble. We have a cracked bobble and holiday bobble tiers, costs like $2 and $5, and you can do that to support the show. There's also a titanium bobble tier that subscribes you to all of the regular content that gets released, and that's a great way to do that, or you can buy individual pieces of content as they are posted. So you kind of have some options there. But yeah, if you want to check that out, you can do so. And for other people who aren't able to give back to the show, but just tune in, listen, we appreciate you too. You, the listeners, are the reason that we do this show, and it's always a pleasure to meet you in person at these big events. So yeah, thank you so much. And I guess the last way you can support us, if you want to, and also maybe save a little bit of money, is if you're buying singles through a Canadian retailer. I would recommend invasioncnc.ca. It's where I buy all of my cards. They have some of the largest inventory in all of Canada, and they are just very enthusiastic about Flesh and Blood. You can use the code YLB5 to get 5% off all your singles in your cart at checkout. So that will help you save a little bit of money and also let them know that we sent you there. And yeah, that helps support us as well. So yeah, thank you to all our listeners and all of our patrons.
Awesome. Okay, then let's move on and talk about the BnR announcement. So this came out a couple of days ago for us, and the CC cards got banned. That's not what we want to talk about today. What we want to talk about today will be the next scheduled ban and restricted announcement. And they already released what cards are also going to be banned in that announcement as well, which is a first. Like, I've never seen this happen before, right?
The closest thing to this was we saw some of the Earth cards. Like, we saw like Crown of Seas get banned, and then they announced Rosetta. But this is kind of the opposite order. We'll touch on this more, but I think this order is quite a bit worse than the other order. But yeah, this is presumably all in anticipation of the release of Omens. My guess would be that these cards were not acceptable with some of the new heroes. And yeah, it comes into effect on May 28th. The game is buyable at pre-releases on May 29th, so the day after, and the set officially releases for organized play on June 5th. So yeah, these are all centered around Omens of the Third Age, and they will impact those new heroes, as well as Isilio as a lightning hero, assuming he's still around, which I think he just has to be. I don't think there's enough events for him to LL between now and then. The cards that are getting banned are Channel Lightning Valley, Electromagnetic Somersault in all colors, Phantom Tidemaw, Reaping Blade, Skyward Serenade, and Volzar the Lightning Rod. They mentioned we are preemptively disclosing these bans so players can engage with Omens of the Third Age preview season with the knowledge of these upcoming changes. These decisions will be explained in full come our next announcement. I guess we can talk about each of these cards and maybe do a little bit of speculation based on what we know already.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, the first card is Channel Lightning Valley. This card has been a house in every Lightning deck that's been legal so far, right? This card kind of generates the very disgusting playline of Sigil of Suffering from Aurora, being able to draw a card the moment, draw a card more than once on Channel Lightning Valley. Or do you think we should explain what each of these cards are or no?
Maybe some of the more obscure ones. I think CLV is ubiquitous enough that people are familiar with.
Sure, yeah, and this is just the one that lets you draw a card whenever you deal damage.
Yeah. So potentially with Aurora, my guess is that Ziggy is the reason this card is getting banned. Ziggy's weapon allows him to do arcane damage on both players' turns as an instant. So you have like an onboard way to trigger this. And Ziggy can also essentially flicker an aura, make it leave play, and come back with a hollow counter. We don't know what the hollow counter does, but we know that he can only do it when it doesn't have a hollow counter. So I suspect it just is a limiter to let him only recur an aura once. But this potentially lets you have channel. I think that you could essentially have channel in play for like almost the entire game, a bunch of Ziggy, and ping people on their turn, and then do stuff on your turn, and yeah, I could see this being a little bit too much. My guess is that Ziggy is why this is getting banned. Sigil of Suffering and Aurora was also very good with it though.
Yeah, and like you just shock them for 2 and you draw a card, almost kind of guaranteed. Now CLV is drawing like every single turn, your turn and your opponent's turn, for a cost of 1 resource or a single blue with Ziggy's effect. Yeah, that's probably too much.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see their reasoning. I'm pretty sure this is why Channel Lightning Valley is getting banned. Onto Electromagnetic Somersault, banned in all colors. I'm a little bit surprised about this one. Somersault is a really powerful card, so it sort of makes sense. It also feels like a very iconic Lightning card, and one that I quite enjoy as it's both offensive and defensive in nature, and kind of shores up some of that all instant weaknesses that, well, like it doesn't fix the all instant hand, but it helps you block as a deck with lots of instants, which I quite liked. My guess about Electromagnetic Somersault is that I don't think Illusionist cards were really considered to be in the card pool with Somersault. And like I've heard people talk about, you can Somersault your Phantasmaclasm and just play Phantasmaclasm like every turn. And that does sound, again, a little bit much.
Yeah, I think the bigger problem is like the yellow and the blue electromagnetic somersaults now have like lots of different targets,
Yeah.
whereas like the red one is probably still fine in like, like the red one only targets the 1 costs and higher, but the blue ones start that has to target 2 costs and higher now are like really really strong in these decks that have the illusionist card pool, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they also seem to be exploring lightning cards that have costs from the very limited number of spoilers that we've explored. So I can see this card getting out of hand. I will trust LSS, but I kind of wish that this card was just restricted to red. I think that it was a powerful and very cool card. And I think that if they have 3 copies of it, it's like probably okay, but I don't know. Maybe with some of the heroes in the set, the reds are still too much. I'm not sure.
Well, I think this card was already so powerful that like it's probably okay that they banned this card. Like this card is ridiculous. Like every single time someone plays this card, it kind of like blows you out of the water, or it's like a 0 for 4. And like worst case scenario, it like blocks for 2. Or like in current Acilio's case, they sometimes discard to draw a card off Acilio. Like I think the floor is already too kind of high on this card at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, I can see an argument for it. This one makes me sad. The somersault makes me quite sad. CLV also makes me a little sad. But I understand given Ziggy. Yeah, let's go into Phantom Tidemaw. This is an illusionist majestic from Bright Lights, actually. It's a 0 cost blue instant aura, so it doesn't block. It says whenever an illusionist card you control is destroyed, put a +1 counter on this. It has Phantasm, and it has Ward 1. We saw this card a little bit in Enigma as a card that could kind of like absorb your other auras and get really big. It has the problem of having Phantasm, though. I don't know what Ziggy's doing with this, because as we've seen so far, Ziggy does not have a way to attack with auras, and the weapon doesn't seem to attack with auras, but I guess like maybe like Iris could attack with this card. I don't know. I'm sure that there's a reason for this, but it's like a little bit... It has to be because of Ziggy, like must be the case, but I'm not sure what the interaction is. I don't think there's anything in the set that's been revealed that makes this obviously powerful.
Yeah, no, definitely nothing in the set that will make it obviously powerful. I guess the one thing would be I guess it says whenever an illusionist card you control is destroyed. So the lightning flow tokens I thought was maybe something that could affect this, but lightning flow isn't a illusionist card, so yeah, no, it has to have some kind of play pattern with Ziggy. Is Ziggy the only illusionist that's gonna be legal after the set comes out? Assuming that Prism LLs? I think so, right?
Yeah. So yeah, this has to be a Ziggy ban. I do not know the reason. I'm sure as we see more cards, it will probably make sense and LSS will explain it. But yeah, not much to say about this one. Reaping Blade. I think people are familiar with Reaping Blade. My guess is that this is a weapon that has just stuck around and keeps coming back and seeing play, and they just want it to be a little less homogenous. I also think that the no life gain clause on Reaping Blade is not my favorite overall. So I'm curious if they will print a card like Reaping Blade that doesn't have the no life gain text, or if they're just or if it's just purely like a power level, like we don't want Rune Blades to keep playing this 1 for 3 weapon. That's like actually pretty good.
Yeah, I think the problem with this card is that this is not a signature weapon for any hero currently in the game, which
Yeah.
means that it can't LL, and the rate on this card is a little bit too high in my opinion. Like let's ignore the life gain text. A one cost weapon that attacks for 3 is pretty powerful, and I feel like it's just already overstated, and it gets this extra little line of text that says random life gains can't happen, which is just, in my opinion, is already just too good.
Yeah, yeah. And I think you just like have this like very nice grasp reaping line that enables go again on your like Rune Rager swarms and swarming gloom veils, and that's just kind of like baked into every rune blade until the end of time if we have reaping blade and grasp and those cards legal, because they're all just generic rune blade cards. So I can kind of see this card going. Not much else to say about it. There's Skyward Serenade, which is the Armory deck card that usually tutors a Skizzik and makes an embodiment of lightning. There's also a +1 mode on it, but those were the most common modes. They came out and said very early on that this was actually a misprint and that you were supposed to choose one mode rather than 2 modes. And this kind of was one of the cards responsible for making Aurora into a good deck, into like kind of a monster. The Armory deck in general did this, but Serenade was probably the biggest pickup from that. I can see banning this. If it was a mistake and not intended to work this way, this is probably the time to ban it. Does suck a little bit for the Armory deck. That Armory deck was like kind of plagued with coming out and then Aurora LLing very quickly, and now arguably the most important card in that deck is gone. So that's a little bit sad. But there's still Skizzik and some equipment. There's the blue as well. I can't remember the name, but there are other cards in that Armory deck as well that I think very well could see play in Aurora. So there were reasons to have it, but yeah, Serenade was a mistake. Banning it here is pretty logical, I think.
Yeah, definitely a power level ban. Skyward Serenade with Arc Lightning was like a nightmare no matter when they played it. So I think it's a good ban. Like, yeah, we don't need this card. I think the last card here though is something that I'm really confused about, which is Volzar the Lightning Rod. This is the Acilio weapon that Acilio currently gets to play. This card is getting banned, which basically means that whatever weapon that the new Acilio gets, Acilio Forked Continuum, is going to be the weapon that the current Acilio has to play now, which might drastically change how this current Acilio deck is going to get played, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the current Acilio deck as we know it is basically going to have to get totally reworked. There has been some concern about Acilio being already arguably the best deck or a top deck in the format at the very least. And how do you release an all lightning set without breaking Acilio in half? I don't think there's many cards at the moment that we've seen that would really like push Acilio. But if there are cards in this set that make Acilio too good, that would like I would be more surprised if that wasn't the case than if it were the case. So my guess is that's why this is happening. Yeah, very curious to see what will happen to Acilio. I think that honestly, it feels kind of bad. I think that this is like one of Volzar is so incredibly powerful and often feels almost like Acilio's hero ability more than his hero ability does. And this ban, I think that Flesh and Blood was really good about doing very subtle bans that bring heroes down just a little. This ban completely, it basically deletes the deck. It doesn't mean that Acilio won't be a deck. There's new cards in the set. I don't know what's in the set. Maybe Acilio will still be playable. But the deck as we know it is gone, completely gone. And I think that that kind of sucks and is a shame. this to me is akin to like the Bonds of Agony ban for Slippy, where Slippy just is not. Yes, Slippy picked up some PQ wins. Slippy is not really a deck anymore without Bonds of Agony, and I think Volzar is very similar for Acilio. It's possible he'll recover. Hard to evaluate till we see the cards. This might be necessary. This makes me sad. I don't. We'll be talking about this in this episode as well, but I am not a fan of bans like this that just delete heroes essentially.
Yeah, like I'm also in the same boat. Volzar feels like way too much of a ban. Like the current Auxilio deck is based off of Volzar. Like you're that's the whole game plan is you're trying to play enough lightning cards so Volzar's amping for like 4, 5, sometimes even 6 if it's a ridiculously big turn. Like if we ban this card, this Auxilio deck is gone after this PT essentially. And I guess there is a small chance Auxilio could hit Living Legend if it wins the PT. Is that true?
I don't know. I haven't looked closely enough at the callings. I think it's almost impossible for Acilio to allo.
Oh, Acilio currently has like 436 allo points. So if it wins the Pro Tour, it gets like what 200 points?
I think it's only 100.
Oh, it only gets 100 points. Okay, never mind. There's no way Acilio's LOLing. So like Acilio just like stops becoming a deck as we know it. Yeah, no, I don't know why. Like if they're going to print Volzar, like why ban it so quickly, right? Because like this set's like Rosetta was last year that it came out. Like it's not even like that the set's that old, right?
Yeah, I think speculation. I wouldn't be surprised if this set's gotten pushed up a little bit because of Aurora. Like Aurora Turbo LL'd, and then there was this whole thing about LL's not working. It's not acceptable for a deck to LL in 5 to 6 months. What are we going to do about it? Aurora is coming back. We're going to return Aurora. I have to imagine that wasn't their plan originally, and there is a set that brings back Aurora, and this is this set. So it wouldn't surprise me if this maybe was in development and got pushed up, or maybe they built this to bring Aurora back. I don't know, but I have to imagine that this isn't releasing when it was originally planned to be released, if it was even planned to be released at all before. So yeah, they probably didn't ban Rosetta and then expect to have another Lightning set in what, like a year.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, actually, I actually kind of like that conspiracy theory a little bit, where they're just like, "Oh, we need to bring Aurora back. We're already working on a set with Aurora. I guess we push this earlier in the set cycle, essentially, so then Aurora can come back earlier." That makes a lot of sense, actually. That's a good theory.
Yeah, you imagine something has to change. I kind of like, we don't usually come back to talents so quickly. This is sort of like an anomaly, and so I would imagine that's what's going on. I kind of wonder if the new Acilio is meant to be a replacement for the old Acilio, like almost 1-to-1, which also kind of sucks if that's the case. I think it's like sad that that happens, but maybe that's what has to happen. I don't know. But yeah, I'm curious if the old Acilio will be supported and playable, or if it's just gonna rot and the new Acilio is gonna be a thing. Because before I was sort of like, the new Acilio has 2 more life and he gets to make ponder tokens, so that's like really good value wise. So he gets to be like the mid-rangey Acilio. And the old Acilio, cycling cards is pretty good. That lets you play a lot of instants and that lets you really lean into the combo. So he'll be like the combo Acilio. Without Volzar, you can still have good Gone in a Flash turns, but I don't think it's good enough to justify the hero ability. And I don't know the cards in the set. I have a hard time imagining why I would play the current Acilio over the new Acilio with Volzar not being a card. So I'm curious what their new weapon will be. Maybe it will make sense. Yeah, this is maybe one of the more upsetting bans to me on this list, and I guess we'll get into it. But in general, I understand that this ban restricted announcement is probably necessary. I don't love it, and it kind of feels a little sloppy.
I guess the question would be like, we mentioned this very early in the episode, but like they did kind of change the order of the announcements, right? Because like beforehand, we used to see the bannings for cards that were for like next sets, and then we got the announcement of a set. In this time, Omens got announced, and then we see the BnR announcements for like currently existing card. It's probably going to be a problem. And there's a lot of cards being banned here, but this order definitely affects people who were trying to like buy some lightning cards beforehand, right? Like, do you think this order is like you said this order was the worst one, right?
Yeah, this sucks. I am somebody directly affected by this. I saw the set release and I went, you know what? I've been playing some Acilio. I like the Lightning Heroes. Ziggy seems cool. I'm gonna buy my cold foil channel Lightning Valleys now. I'm gonna do it right away. Like basically, the moment I saw the set, I bought the two cold foil channel Lightning Valleys I was missing. These are like $100+ cards, and find out like 2 weeks later it's banned. I would have liked to have known that that was going to happen beforehand. Like I think there's kind of no reason not to do it in the other order. That's how they've done it in the past. I guess it gives away some stuff. Like we can, there's lightning cards, an illusionist card, a runeblade card, and a wizard card. Like that kind of gives away the whole structure of the set. And maybe releasing it at the same time puts a damper on things a little bit. Maybe I don't know. I think that this is really unfortunate, though. I feel a little burned by it, and I suspect I know that I am not the only one that feels burned by it. And I think even the regular CLVs were not exactly cheap cards at the moment. So even if you just picked up the non-cold foil CLVs, you go, I want to play these Lightning Heroes. That sucks for you too. So yeah, I guess investors, but even just people trying to play the game are affected by this, and that sucks.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think Channel Lightning Valley at one point spiked to almost like $40 or $35 in that range, and
Yep.
then this announcement came out, and now it is like a $15 card again. So
Mm-hmm.
at at the announcement, they started spiking really hard, and then now it is back to where it was maybe before the announcement, maybe around $12, $13. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely spiked really hard and then tanked again to what it currently is.
So I think it's unfortunate. I feel, especially for the players, investors are definitely affected, and investors do matter. But I especially feel for the players being affected. I think that that's when it starts to get really problematic. And yeah, I would like to see them, if they're going to do this, please announce it beforehand. Don't announce the set, make people buy cards, and then announce that they're banned 2 weeks later before you even get to play with them potentially. That just sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I also want to talk about other people affected. Kind of feel bad for Aurora fans out there. I've seen some of the sentiment of, I've been so excited about Aurora. I was disappointed that she allowed, excited that she's coming back soon. There was kind of this communication of, don't worry, Aurora's coming back. Hang on to your Aurora cards. You're going to be able to play Aurora. You can still play Aurora, but man, I feel like CLV, Somersault, Skyward Serenade, these are all like marquee Aurora cards. She also loses the elemental cards, so no Flicker Wisp, which I think probably need to happen. Arc Flicker wasn't great. Entwine Lightning. There's just so many kind of like core Aurora cards that are not legal. And I hope that the new Aurora delivers. I hope that she's still fun and captures that kind of like what people enjoyed about that hero. But yeah, I think a lot of Aurora players are a little disappointed, and I think rightfully so. I think that, yeah, it sucks to have this promise of your hero coming back and you're going to be able to enjoy it, and then a lot of your favorite cards are just cut before you even get to play with them again.
Are the elemental cards not legal?
These heroes are not elemental. They're just lightning heroes.
Oh,
So the elemental cards are not banned, but they are not in these heroes' card pool.
that's interesting.
Mhm.
Is that has that been like confirmed? Do we know that for sure that these heroes are not elemental?
I believe that Josh Scott, yes, it says on their hero tech that they're lightning, and Josh Scott has said that that is the case, I believe, or that there's no like, yeah. Some people were expecting there was like a rules change that just came out. Some people were like, maybe there's a rules change around it, and there wasn't. And Josh Scott has confirmed that the heroes are not inherently elemental. Maybe that will change. I don't know. But I also feel like if they're doing a pre-ban announcement and these heroes are elemental, surely you would pre-ban Arc Lightning. Or sorry, not Arc Lightning, Flicker Wisp.
Flicker Wisp. Okay, yeah, because Arc Lighting is still gonna be legal. That card is
Yeah.
just a Lightning Runeblade card.
Yeah.
But yeah, Flicker Wisp, yeah, would be a problem still. So okay, that would make sense. Interesting. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
They lost the elemental text. Yeah, you are very right. I did not even notice that when looking at these spoiler cards for the first time.
Yeah, my guess would be because of Flicker Wisp that this is done. That would be my assumption. But yeah, Aurora potentially losing a lot of pieces of her kit, potentially gaining some pieces too. So there is some hope. I'm hopeful that Aurora will be fun and interesting and capture a lot of that for people again. But yeah, I have some seen disappointment, and I kind of wanted to mention that because we're talking about this announcement. And I guess the last group affected is the current Acilio players. We kind of talked about this. Sucks. That hero, I don't know what will happen to it. I guess we'll see. I hope something interesting, but I am not optimistic, is what I would say.
Yeah, it's very hard to print enough cards for a Celio to still be similar to what the Celio deck what we see today. It probably is kind of impossible, right, to see what we see Acilio's doing today, which does feel like a combo deck at heart.
Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe there'll be like another similar Volzar with something slightly different, and maybe that is the answer, and it will all be intact and okay. We can't know till we see the set, but as somebody that's been picking up Azilio and starting to have fun with the deck, I'm a little disappointed. I don't want them to break the hero in half. I don't want the format to be super unhealthy, but deleting heroes and playstyles is usually kind of a last resort. Overall, yeah, this BnR, I don't love it. I don't love seeing a whole bunch of cards get preemptively banned. I don't like some expensive cards being bought into and then banned. I don't like some of the marquee Aurora cards for a hero that has been promised to come back leaving. It feels a little. I think it was Matthew McInnes posting that it feels a little perhaps rushed. And I kind of agree. It feels like maybe this set's rushed. Maybe, I don't know. This is pure speculation. I have no idea. But yeah, this gives me some concerns about, are they going to, is this set rushed, or is it just too hard to keep balancing around such a large card pool? I don't really know what the announcement is, or sorry, what the reason for this is. But I think in either scenario, I think I've lost a little bit of confidence in LSS from this. Unfortunately, just being totally honest, this does not inspire confidence. It doesn't mean that Flesh and Blood's a bad game. It doesn't mean it's all over. But this is like, is everything going good over there? That's kind of how I feel reading this announcement.
Okay. I'm not that down on this announcement. Some of these cards are definitely cards that are problematic. Like Channel Lightning Valley is a card that does not feel great to play against. Reaping Blade is definitely a card that, in my opinion, had to go like much sooner, way before, as it invalidates a lot of decks. But like, yeah, I also agree with you on the Volzar banning and the Skyward Serenade. Like those two cards particularly in this list it feels like kind of like, oh, I thought these cards will be legal. Like that's kind of why I bought an Aurora deck after it allowed, because like I was like, I'm probably gonna need it anyways. I don't want to sell out by the time the new Aurora comes out and I need the cards and I can't find the cards. So I bought an Aurora deck after it allowed, and then now it's banned. So it's like, okay, why did I even buy the Aurora deck?
Feel a little burned on the purchases, right? And like, I buy for transparency, I buy all of the cards from every set when the set comes out because I just like having access to everything. So like, I don't think I'm the most affected by these changes, but I do still feel strongly that they feel bad.
Yeah, they definitely feel bad.
Last topic I want to cover super quickly. This is maybe just like a bit of a rant or complaint about mine that I've been feeling for a while. And it's not directly related to this, but it is related to kind of the bannings in Flesh and Blood in general. I forget exactly where, but recently, within the last year, they've kind of mentioned that they're taking a more aggressive ban policy and they're shifting towards banning problem cards quickly. And they kind of mentioned that they want to aim to shake up formats, keep them fresh, and that before it was just to attack problems in the format, and now they want to make sure that there's just like fresh formats to solve and that people don't get bored. And they kind of like mentioned how digital analogs are doing this, and that's sort of like they think this is the expectation of the player base, and just sort of like the way to go going forward was kind of this announcement. I was a bit skeptical of this at the time. Having spent some more time with it, I can say that I do not like this, and I also do not like all the bans from this. I think I'm very anti-ban, and this is maybe a little old school. This is maybe I don't know if this is the popular opinion. I think I might be in the minority here. That wouldn't surprise me. I really do not like this aggressive ban policy, and I really do not like seeing all these cards get banned. I liked being able to go back to these iconic cards and play them again. I was looking forward to that. Not being able to do that, really disappointing. And in terms of the aggressive ban policy, I just feel like we're almost in an expectation of we get like a week or two into PQs, snap. This hero's been winning the most. Look, they have 10 more wins than the next hero this week. That guy's got to get banned immediately. You know, next BnR, that hero's got to get banned. And this is kind of like the mindset that we're in and the norm that we're in. And for me, what this has kind of done is I'm having trouble finding decks that I like, to be honest. I think that between the Living Legend system and between the aggressive ban policy, I think almost every deck that I have played has eaten bans. And that's not to say that none of these decks needed bans, but like I played Dash IO, I was really enjoying that deck. They took Cerebellum Processor. I was enjoying Syndra. They took Brand with Cinderclaw. I was enjoying Slippy. They took Bonds of Agony. I was starting to enjoy Acilio. They took they're taking a bunch of cards, Volzar, and a whole bunch of other cards from that deck. I was enjoying Gravy Bones originally, and they took Tipples, and I no longer enjoy Gravy without Tipples because Tipples was my favorite card in that deck by a huge amount. And yes, bans have to happen. And I'm not saying all of these bans are bad bans, but I think that bans have a real cost. They don't even affect me monetarily. I just find it hard to get invested in a deck because it's just like I'm just like chasing whatever's good, and it just keeps changing, and they just keep banning. Like as soon as a hero is good, it's like, yep, that hero's got to get banned. And I even find the like conversations around it exhausting. It's like, your hero's been winning so much, you've got to that hero's toxic. We got to get bans. Is like how the dialogue goes, and I don't like it. So yeah, that's kind of my rant. I don't know how you feel about this, but I think it's not to say I don't enjoy Flesh and Blood, but it has affected my enjoyment of Flesh and Blood.
Okay, that's fair. I think I'm not that against bannings as much as you are, but I do kind of agree with you that this aggressive BNR policy on a paper game does feel a little bit too much. At least like recently, it's been feeling a little bit more, and I think that has to do with a little bit of the Sage BNR announcements, shaking up Sage quite a bit and quite often, even though the format's like kind of brand new and fresh, and going as far as to say like the KO not banning any cards from KO also kind of felt bad, and it feels like you're doubling down on like, oh, we're gonna try and ban as many cards as possible, but then there are still some cards that we can't ban and touch, and like there's a combination of that kind of feels really really bad, where they're trying to ban a lot of cards, but they're also not banning some of the cards that are definitely problems in the game. So I kind of wish that they kind of commit to one thing. But I do agree with you. I feel like it's a little bit too much.
Yeah.
I remember the Zen format. The Zen format was too long on the vice versa, right? Like we had Art of War for way too long. We didn't need that card to be legal for that long, and that card could have been hit way earlier in the cycle. Whereas like maybe some of these cards that are getting banned like this year is kind of too fast. Like they're banning things a little bit too early. They're banning things a little bit too fast. And then with the changes to the LL system, with some of the older heroes getting 1.5 times the LL points, a lot of heroes rotate very, very quickly now. And that already shakes up the format. So like, do we really need BNRs as well as the LL system just kind of pushing out like 3 to 4 decks in one PQ season? I think in the next season we're gonna probably see Prism Awaken Our Soul leaving. Fi Rising Rebellion has 850 points, probably gonna be leaving. Dash IO got 324 points this pen season, and it's very likely to end up getting LL'd in the next season. Victor Goldmane's also another deck that's going to LL next season. If the power level of that deck doesn't come down, so like we're going to be seeing 4 heroes leaving, after the release of Omens in the next PQ season or RTN season, whatever the season it may be, we're gonna see these heroes leave and remove cards from the metagame. So like, do we really need so many BNRs
Mhm.
while the LL system is also pushing out all of these like heroes that have been released for over 2 years very quickly as well? I kind of wish that they kind of toned down one or the other, or just like a little bit on both sides.
Yeah, I agree. I think the combination of the two has just felt, um, yeah, like I think a lot of people thought of me as like a specialist. I played Icelander and Lexi a whole bunch, and I enjoyed going super deep on those decks. But I partially because I haven't found the decks that I like, but also partially because whenever I start to find a deck that might be that deck, it gets banned or it LLs. Has been yeah, I've just not had an attachment to a hero or a deck in the same way that I did early on in the game in quite a number of years, and I'm finding I'm kind of like reaching for heroes and being like, where is the deck I enjoy? Where's the deck I want to play? And yes, a lot of my decisions is around power level, and maybe some of this is because I'm playing powerful decks and I like powerful decks, and maybe some of this speaks to like who I am as a player. But yeah, I just wanted to mention it because I haven't seen many people talk about it, and I feel quite strongly about it. I think that for my taste, at least, I would like to see a little bit slower and more natural of a progression. Give people time to adapt. And that doesn't mean never ban anything. I think the Tipples and Gravy needed to go. I think the Wrath of Retribution and Sindra was a good pick to ban. I think that, I think there were lots of bans that needed to happen and there were good ones. And getting bans is hard. I also want to say that, like, LSS's job is a hard job, and it is hard. It is very difficult to balance these formats accurately. I think it's even hard to test these formats and know everything that's going on because there's just so many heroes in the game and so much ground to cover. So I am like empathetic, and I think that overall LSS is doing the best that they can and doing overall a pretty solid job. The current metagame looks good. It's just pretty diverse, pretty healthy. We talked about that last week, and that's really cool. I just wish that I could feel, I don't know, a little more attached to a hero, or feel like if I pick up a hero and start liking it and it's a winning deck, it's not just going to immediately be, the angry mob is out to demand bans, and that's going to happen on the next BnR, because that's currently what it feels like, and it's a little unfortunate, I think.
It also probably just feels a little bit worse because Acilio is now a tier 1 deck, and then Omens got announced like after it became tier 1 for the first time, and it's just like the timing is kind of unfortunate too for Acilio, right? Like, if Acilio just gets like 20 more lightning cards to choose from, the deck is obviously going to be way too good. Like, it's already too good, and if it gets like 20 more cards, it's definitely gonna be too good. So like, they have to hit the hero somehow.
Yeah.
Right? There's like no way they can just let it go.
No, I agree. So yeah, I understand where some of these things are coming from. I get all of it. I wonder if we can find a middle ground where we still ban problems. I agree with you. I think the Zen bans took too long, but I think some of these bans in combination with L is a little too quick for my tastes, and it just feels like a bit of a rotating door right now, and a bit of a chasing. I had this feeling with like some online games too, where you're just kind of like chasing the meta. You're just shifts like every couple of weeks, every couple of months, and every month or two, and just like constant rotating door, and you're constantly just chasing. It kind of feels like that right now.
Yeah. It's also hard to get time to play these, like, Flesh and Blood is a card like a physical TCG. Like, they don't really need to get it close to a digital TCG where millions of game gets played in a single week instead of thousands of games, which I feel like Flesh and Blood is like in the high thousands, 20, 30, 40,000, whatever that is, versus like a game like, let's say, Hearthstone, that probably gets played millions of games in a week, right? Like, it's just like so much more accessible to play these online games. It takes 4 minutes for a game.
And I think there's also like the cost of switching decks constantly for a lot of players. Not me personally, but for many, but just because I buy everything already. But for many players, there's a real cost to switching all the time. And I also think that, like, this might sound silly. Oh, I feel like the rate at which I have to build and take apart decks is just like it's like getting exhausting. Like I just like tearing decks apart, putting decks back together. I have to resort my collection. I realize that this sounds kind of petty and sounds like, oh yeah, like must be hard to own all the cards, but like just like actually, just like I don't know, like I'm just like constantly taking decks apart, and my kitchen table is just full of scraps of decks and cards that I need to put away. And I feel like I put it away, and then there's a new format, and then a month later I need to get rid of it all. But we're not even finished the format because like Kasai's come and gone, KO's come and gone, Verdance has come and gone. There's just like all these heroes that I just like were super relevant that I had built that I was working that just like aren't even legal anymore or are just like aren't really playable because of the metagame conditions. And it's just like, yeah, I think just like even like managing the collection is, not the biggest issue, but a non-zero cost. It is different than a digital card game where you just click some buttons, it's all there, is all fine. It's like even just physically like building, rebuilding, changing these decks, putting the cards away. It's just like it takes real time and effort.
Mhm.
Let alone buying the cards. Like if you need to buy the cards, it's like a huge extra step. I don't even have to buy the cards, and I'm like, man, this is a lot. So yeah.
It's true. It is true. It's pretty. It is definitely something if you are chasing the top decks in the format. Okay. I feel like that's enough for this conversation. We're gonna keep it a little bit shorter for this week, but we will wrap it up here then.
Yep. Thank you all for listening. Hope you found this interesting, and we will see you all next time. If you want to get in touch with us, we're on social media. Jay is at Ueda J on Twitter, and I'm at Yuki Lee Bender on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can email us at onthebobble@gmail.com, or you can find us on Patreon, patreon.com/onthebobble. All of our patrons also get access to our Discord, so you can reach out to us through that Discord if you're a patron, and we usually try to get back to you within a day or so. So yeah, that's about it. That's going to be a wrap. And I hope you found this discussion, I don't know, interesting, gives you some food for thought.
I guess we can have a little bit of a sign off on this episode. How long are you in Japan for? Are you
About 2 weeks. I'm getting in on the Monday and I'm leaving on the following Friday.
okay? Okay, so you're gonna have like a week after the PT to just relax.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm currently supposed to go to Shanghai on the Monday before that. It's like the 30th. There's a possibility I have it booked, so I'm likely to go, but there's a possibility I don't go. So we will see. There's been a lot of travel. Life has been very hectic. I'm not very excited about Sage, and so I'm somewhat considering just staying home, testing a bit from home, focusing on relaxing and feeling rested. Because I will tell you, at calling Memphis, I did not feel very well rested, and I actually felt quite exhausted. So I wonder if just resting a little bit more might be better. So I'm currently considering that. Haven't made up my mind. We'll see. I would have to buy a new flight to get to Japan because I was going to go Vancouver to Shanghai, then Shanghai to Japan. But I probably don't actually spend that much money realistically because I don't have to spend money on like hotels and stuff for a week in Shanghai. So, and I don't have to pay the calling entry. So it probably about evens out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like spending a week outside of your home is a lot of money. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. That is fair.
So we'll see.
Um,
What about you? How long are you in Japan for?
I'm actually leaving in a couple of days. I'm leaving on the 26th of March, and I will be there until the 22nd of April, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So quite a while.
Yeah, so the first couple of weeks I am just going to I've booked like some like super cheap resort thing, so I am gonna be not touching Flesh and Blood for a week, and then after once April comes around, I'm probably just gonna be finding some like local stores to go to start testing CC and Sage again. But I think I am pretty much locked on my deck. It's March 24th, and you know, 10, 15 days away from the event. I'm currently liking my deck a lot, so I think I'm just gonna be running kind of very close to the same list. I'm probably gonna be bringing like 100 some cards from my Arachne list, and I'll play whatever I think is right for the meta game. But I think my game plan into every deck exists right now. I just need to choose which 80 I bring and, give up on 20 cards, which is a lot, but not much I can do with Huntsman other than that. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Those are the type of decisions you got to make. Sounds like you're in a pretty good spot overall. Yeah, I'm also feeling somewhat locked on Acilio. We'll see. Probably bring a couple decks, but I think my teammates like to make fun of me as being really indecisive on decks and all over the place, and I actually feel, at least for now, pretty set. We'll see. Sometimes as we get closer to the event, the flip flopping between decks intensifies. But we're getting pretty close. We're like just over 2 weeks away, and I haven't had that flip flopping yet. So
yeah,
feeling
actually,
pretty
this
good.
is probably the most. This is the first time I think when we had these like PTs that you're not like I'm on one of these four decks, and I'm like,
Yeah,
wow, Yuki, you're actually kind of locked on Acilio this time. That's that's a first. I feel like that's a first. I feel like yeah.
yeah. It's not very often that this happens. Um, hmm, yeah, I don't know. Not
Okay.
much else to say. I'm just feeling. I don't know if I'm feeling so good about Acilio, or I'm just like I just like also kind of have a like what else would I play though? I mean, Dash IO is the other main contender, and I wanna spend a bit of time with Dash IO. There's a possibility I will play her. She is somewhat of a comfort pick. I think I want to learn the lens deck and see if that feels reasonable into fatigue. And if it does, I could play Dash IO. But if it doesn't, or it's too exhausting, or I don't feel like it, I will probably just play Acilio because I like that guy. And I think I like the other comparable decks less. So yeah, as simple as that.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, and we'll wrap it up here. Thanks for listening, everyone. Good night.
Good night.